I'm Leanne Tran, psychologist who's worked with families whose kids don't fit the mould for almost 20 years. I've worked with children for decades, but I know parents are the real change makers when it comes to their kids. Having 3 kids of my own means I know it's not easy. Parent Like a Psychologist is all about simplifying how you support your kids with psychology information filtered through years of experience to take you from overwhelmed to confident. Come on in. Hey, welcome back to another episode of Parent Like a Psychologist. Focusing today again on autistic kids and how we can really be attuned to what they need. Uh, and because that's the key in being able to meet a child's needs. It's important for everyone. It's comes naturally to some parents and not to others. And it really depends on the relationship with your kid. It doesn't have anything to do with autism, doesn't have anything to do with ADHD. It's something that, as all parents, we need to do to be attuned to our kids. But what can make it really hard is when, for whatever reason, maybe it's that you are a typical parent and your child's autistic, or maybe you have ADHD and your child's autistic, and or maybe you're a typical parent and your kid is a typical kid, but you just have some, communication difficulties where you just don't quite know what they need, how they tick. You just can't quite understand. And that's where this attunement piece comes in. It's a tricky kind of, well, I don't know, tricky, but it's like a very kind of mental healthy type word, I think. But I would say I'll dive into it anyway and explain what it means. But I wanted to talk about how um, this idea of being attuned to what our kids need um, helps us with connection. And then that's what can reduce the traumas that our kids might be exposed to and might experience. So it's a really important topic for me, I think, because as part of my journey to becoming a psychologist, I guess it's reflecting a lot on the things that I needed as a kid that perhaps I didn't get. And it all comes down to attunement. It's seeing our kids for who they are and what support they need and giving them to that, just giving that to them, um, in spite of what we maybe had in mind for our kids, what our hopes or dreams were. Um, it's about being able to parent the child that you have and the person they are, rather than create the person that you had in mind before they were born, because parenting doesn't work that way, unfortunately. So, we talked a couple of episodes ago about how trauma can show up in autistic kids, and it's not one big event, it's through repeated little experiences that chip away at their safety. Um, we talked about how stimming and emotional regulation are often misunderstood, but how some ways that you can help your kids with that. But today, I'm summing up this little series with by sharing what we can do, and it's really about how to get that connection that helps you understand what your kid needs. So, attunement, really, I would say, kind of in a simpler word, I would call it tuning in. So it's really about um, being curious first of all about what's going on for your kid. It's about being really accepting of who they are, their strengths, their challenges, and even their goals and personality. And then it's about being responsive to to that. So letting them be who they are, and helping them with what they are finding challenging without judgment, or with acceptance and with curiosity, as I mentioned before. And so this approach to parenting can really reduce the traumas that your kids can experience, because it helps them know that it's safe for them to be themselves. It's not about being perfect as a parent either. It's just about being present and actively trying to have that relationship with your kids where you see them for who they are and you know them and love them for that and support them with what they need help with. So let's talk about, I wanted to cover it today what attunement looks like, why it matters for autistic kids, and then some practical things you can actually do about it. Um, so, like I said, attunement is about tuning in, it's about really seeing your child, being in sync with how they feel, even when they can't say it. It's about noticing their cues. So that means the little behaviors they show that lets you know how they feel. Um, for example, I'm first example popped into my head of a look that one of my kids gets when their frustration's starting to run high. And so being noticing these cues is the f- you know I guess it's about noticing the ways that they're trying to communicate with you that might not be with words. um, so you might see some behaviors that let you know how they feel. It's also about respecting your child's boundaries. And so, for example, if they say they need to they don't want to talk about it now, they need time. This is something that happens in my family a bit, and it's yeah, one of my kids will take themselves off and say, um, I need to calm down. And I think that's actually a really good skill. But I went through a period where I was misunderstanding that as just storming off, which I saw as a bit of a challenging behavior. And it's not till I unpacked it and was trying to notice a little bit more that I realized it was an attempt to kind of calm in the situation. And it's also about meeting their needs as they show up, not as we expect them to. So it's about, I think it's tricky to understand, but an example might be if we have this idea that our kid is going to do really well at school or they have the ability to do well, but they, for whatever reason, maybe it's, executive functioning challenges and that kind of stuff, they find it really tricky. And so for us, it's about trying to understand what they need help with and support that rather than putting the pressure and expectation on that they should be able to do it because they've got the capacity and the ability and kind of creating an expectation they can't meet. Why this matters so much for autistic kids is that, firstly, autistic kids are often misunderstood. And so they're often told things like that they might be too sensitive or they're too rigid, they're not social enough. And so they're getting a lot of messages about how who they are is not okay, it's not enough. And those are the little, I say little because we might think of them as little as parents, like little, um, sounds wrong to say little trauma, but it kind of is. We see them as little things that should be easily overcome by kids, but from their experience, being told constantly that you're not good enough and not okay and not right is a big deal. And so I think if we can try as parents to make sure that we are not doing that, then that really protects from those, protects our kids from having negative experiences from us and our parenting. And I absolutely want that for my kids. And I think most of you listening do as well. So when we approach our kids instead with curiosity about it, it helps us listen to what our children are actually saying and validates that their way of seeing things and who they are and how they do things is good enough. That builds the connection and trust that is so protective for our kids. It also helps undo the damage of being dismissed by other people and being criticized by other people as well. So, before I go into the practical ways that we can attune to our kids, I think it's worth noting that um, for kids who go through difficult things like trauma, whether that's a big thing like being in a car accident or, losing someone they love, or whether it's lots of little things like just constantly being overwhelmed because of the sensory nature of the world day to day, the best thing that can protect kids against those traumas is their relationship with their or adults who can meet their needs, look after them, help them regulate their emotions, and help them through these difficult times. And so that's why it's really important that all of us are strong, strongly attuned to our kids to be able to um, be that person and have that relationship with them that will protect them through these things. And when I say protect, I don't mean, it doesn't mean that they're not going to have a difficult time, but it means that if they had those difficult times without us as that strong person that they related, who understands them, gets them, and can support them, then they're kind of just adrift in the world, and it's so, so difficult for them. So it's a really protective thing. It really helps their resilience to have a strong relationship with their adults. So if you're thinking, "Oh, holy crap, then teach me, how do I do it?" Because, you know, that's how we can feel sometimes, like, "I don't wanna stuff this up." I'm gonna give you some practical tips. So these are some practical ways that you can, um, tune into your kids and develop that really close to reflect their emotions out loud. You might so this is, it's just saying it, right? I can't remember the famous person who was, like, saying you have to name it to tame it, but it's just giving your kids the vocabulary around emotions. So it's things like, "You seem really frustrated," or, "You look angry," "You seem sad." It's just helping them recognize the emotions and then accepting it. So saying, "That's okay, I'm here." Um, that's the first bit, reflecting and accepting. Next step is that you don't have to rush to fix it. This can mean that kids feel like they are not being listened to or dismissed. I don't know if anyone else has had the experience of like, imagine like you're trying to talk to a spouse about how you're feeling and they jump in to fix it. You're like, oh, I just wanted someone to listen to me to get me and understand me. And so with kids, you just need to sit with the feeling after it. And so that gives them sense of safety. It's just letting them have that difficulty and meltdown, even if that's what it is, without the judgment. And so you're just there with them while they experience it. Watch and learn is another strategy. So if your kids are stimming, if they're fidgeting, if they're avoiding eye contact, that's all a way of communicating. You don't need to change that. You can learn from it though and respect it. So, um, you know, it's they're kind of in a way communicating about their emotions and how they're feeling, and you can respond to that as if they were saying, "I'm frustrated" or "I'm, stressed or anxious." You can say, yeah, the same kind of thing. "I can see you fidgeting a lot. I'm here for you." Um, Respond to it like it's, a feeling. The next thing you can do is validate, your child's reality. So even if you don't feel the same, you can validate it for your child. So that felt really big for you. Or, that looked really hard to handle. So you are acknowledging that their experience and validating that that's okay. And my last piece of advice is probably the most important thing, and it's to back off the pressure to conform if you can. Um, Let go of the idea of the shoulds, like how a child should behave, how they should play, how they should interact, um, and let them find their own way. We know too that, researchers shows that autistic people generally have no trouble communicating with other autistic people. And so it's not that kids have, oh, yeah, and that extends to other things, I imagine. So playing and that kind of thing. Often I see kids in primary school hang out with other neurodivergent kids because they're quite happy to play side by side rather than in an interactive way. I shouldn't say interactive, that sounded judgmental. I just meant in that, like, classic pretend play kind of way. Um, and so it's not necessarily a wrong way of doing things. It's just that the majority of people are typical, so the majority do it one way. So we can let our kids know that they don't have to conform. It's okay for them to do it their way. And for them to get that message from a parent is so validating and resilience building and reassuring. And that is the whole point of this strong relationship and tuning into our kids, is so that we can be that safe relationship and safe place for them to be exactly who they are, that we see them for that and love them for that. So when kids feel seen, they don't have to perform or mask or pretend to be loved. They don't have to be perfect. They can be themselves and be loved. And I think that's something we all want for our kids. But if we're not conscious about doing it for loving the kid in front of us as they are, then it's risky that that might not happen. And so by doing this, kids can slowly move out of that people pleasing and being into being their real selves, which I think is, every parent's dream, right? For their kids to be themselves and be happy. So just to wrap up, attuned parenting or tuning in to who your kid is and what they need isn't about doing everything right. It's about being that safe base, someone your kid can come to no matter what. You don't need to fix your child. You just need to show them that they're already worthy of your love and support exactly as they are, but that you're there to help them with what they find hard. Um, if this has kind of given you some new ideas and that reflect on your parenting and wonder if you've been doing it a different way, don't worry. You're not behind, you're not too late. If this message speaks to you, then you're already doing the work. And we all could do it a little bit better because we're all human. But you don't have to be perfect. You just have to keep trying. And you can always correct course or change direction at any point in your parenting. And so um, I hope that you found this helpful. If it speaks to you, this topic, there is a resource on how to connect with kids on my website. It's on the free page, which is learn.leannetran.com.au/free. I'll link that in the show notes as well so that you can go on there and have a look. And there's a few different resources, but the one that relates to this episode is called, oh, what is it called? connection through collection or something like that. So it's about how you can create some little routines in your family about coming to your kids and connecting with them so that you can proactively build this solid, strong relationship. Um, Let me know if you've got any questions. You can always contact me through the website, and I'm so happy to help. Because really, I just want my mission is so that every parent can be confident that they're meeting their child's needs. That's it. Simple as that. So do ask if you have a question. I'm here for you. Thanks for joining. Thanks for listening to this episode of Parent Like a Psychologist. If you found it helpful, please share on Instagram so other parents can benefit too, and tag me at Leanne Tran Psychology so that I can say a big thank you. Head over to leannetran.com.au to join the village for bite-sized psychology tips straight to your inbox. I really hope this podcast has brought a new perspective and you a step closer towards a calm parent and a thriving child. Have a delightful day.